finish what you started. My mom always told me that, but for some odd reason, it really bothered me growing up. I spent a long time trying to figure out why that was. And I guess I was looking into the words and she was telling me and trying to figure out what I could take away from it and what I was realizing through those words. And I guess what I was reading into it, I was listening and hearing, only start what you know you can finish. And I want to make my mama proud. I'm a mama's boy. But this caused me a real big problem. Because growing up as a little boy, I wanted to change the world. Then, just like today, I love starting stuff. Because it's a magical moment when things just change, they create. When we can take something from nothing into something, right? Our ideas take fruition. We can build, we can change, we can convince people of things when we start. It's a magical moment. But I always waited to get all my ducks in a row. Because when you have all your ducks in a row, right, everything just lines up just perfectly. So therefore, you can see kind of how things are going to take shape, where the end is, where the finish line is. And when I know how things are going to finish, then I can start. That's what my mom told me. But for anyone here that's ever been to Centennial Park knows that a bunch of ducks really look like this. Right? And we all know there's a sign there that says, don't feed the ducks. But hey, let's face it, everyone always brings a little big bag of bread. And, well, life's full of bread. Right? So every time I started to try to start something, it would never just line up perfectly, especially the things that I didn't know how they would end. I just couldn't figure it out, couldn't put it together. So when I was a little boy, I was always waiting for the right time, and it never came. So I talk about, the starting and the finish of something, and there's no better example than a foot race. So a foot race has a clear, distinct starting line and a clear, distinct finish line. And we tend to decide what races we're going to enter based on where the finish line is. After all, nobody wants to run half a race. Or do they? Around 2007, 2008, one of the most popular races in North America was the half marathon. So I found this really interesting. So at one point, there must have been a whole bunch of people that said, hey, I'd love to run a full marathon. That'd be fantastic, right? But I'm not in shape enough. I don't have much time. It's far. So what they didn't do was enter marathons, enter the race, run halfway, then stop. There wasn't a big trend of that. But all of a sudden, someone somewhere decided to create an imaginary finish line halfway on the same path, on the same race. Now there's a finish line right in the middle. And all of a sudden, everyone's throwing themselves at the half marathon. It's the best race ever. When I thought of this, and I found it really interesting, I'm thinking, not too long ago, before that line was there, that same place was failure. Right? You got there, you stopped there, you lost. Right? But now someone decided, I'm going to put a finish line there. And once that person decided there was a finish line there, then we could go there and win. We could go there and finish. I could successfully finish half a race. So when I got to really thinking about this, I thought, well, why are we running after other people's finish lines? What if we created our own finish lines? How far could we go then? Because when I was a little boy, I always ran the races that other people told me to run. I always went towards their finish lines. was, and I would only enter the races that I knew I could finish. Another great story, another great race. It's actually a story. It's a couple hundred years old. It's been told a few different ways. Probably best told by Walt Disney. It's the story of the tortoise and the hare. So I'll run through it quickly. Essentially, it's the story of the hare. He's got this big chip on his shoulder. He's got an ego. He's in a small village, a small community. And he keeps telling everyone how fast he is. He's the best runner around, blah, blah, blah. Till one day, someone decides to challenge him to a race. And to everyone's surprise, that person is a tortoise. Right? Story goes on to say the next day they line up. 3, 2, 1, they're off. And the hare is off to an early lead. Takes off like everyone expects, super fast. Halfway through the race, his ego kicks in, says, I got this. He's going to take a nap. Kicks back. All along, the tortoise, slow and steady, goes throughout the race, sees the hare napping, sneaks by, goes on towards the finish line. Until the hare wakes up, looks back, notices the tortoise had passed him. One last dash towards the finish line. But too little, too late. And the tortoise actually won the race. Everyone's surprised. Now, we can all imagine how the hare felt at this moment, maybe a little bit humbled. I think the community was really happy, right? So all of a sudden, they could get rid of this ego that was lingering over them. And the moral of this story has always been, slow and steady wins the race. But I wonder if there's another underlying message to this whole story. And that's the story of the tortoise in the beginning. Because when you think about it, the tortoise, why did he decide to challenge the hare in the beginning? I think the tortoise knew there was something wrong in the community. There was something that had to change. And he was willing to take a stand. He was so passionate about this that he wanted to make something change. He wanted to start something that no one thought he could win. He decided to start something that he didn't think he could win. Right? Because he was passionate about creating that change. Now, when I was a little boy, I only started the races that I thought I could win. Now, when I think back to what my mom told me, I realized that she wanted nothing but the best for me. Right? That although she told me these words, I realized now that all she really wanted was for me to succeed as much and as often as possible. But it took me into my adult life to realize that, right? As a little boy, I didn't know that. And when I was able to realize that and actually actively decide that I needed to change, so I needed to change my perspective. And I decided to make a decision to change myself. To become a person that starts, to at least try to change the world. So when I think of all this, my journey through discovering all this, what's the message really that I learned, and what's the message I want to leave with you today? And what's the message, just like my mom told me through these words, what's the message that I want to tell my daughter as she grows up through life, as she tries to find success? And I think that message is this. Find something you're passionate about. Find something you want to change and start. Start even when you don't have all your ducks in a row. Start even when you may not even win. But most of all, Emma, start and create your own finish line. Thank you.